Did you know that at the end of the 1800s, a guild for women bookbinders was set up? However, set up by a man, less as a guild in a traditional sense, but more as a business venture. Frank Karslake was a businessman. He already had a second-hand bookshop on Charing Cross Road and was a financial backer of the existing Hampstead Bindery. He started getting interested in women's bindings at this exhibition, which is the Victorian era exhibition at 1897 at Earl's Court. This exhibition had a lot of different arts and crafts at the time, but there were a number of bindings done by women at this exhibition. After the exhibition, Karslake invited a number of the women binders to exhibit at his shop on Charing Cross Road. The first exhibition happened in 1898. There was 152 items, and Karslake ensured that it was very highly publicised. Free invites were sent to all the press that he thought would do a decent write-up, and he also invited the royal family. The guild then naturally formed after this, as a number of the women who exhibited at this exhibition allowed Karslake to work as their agent. We don't know how much commission Karslake charged, but we know it was pretty hefty because he commented very publicly that he thought anyone accepting 20% commission was completely idiotic, basically. He then went to change the name of his shop on Charing Cross Road to the Guild of Women Binders, and he set up a workshop as part of the Hampstead Bindery that he was already running. The workshop opened in 1899, and the plan was that it was somewhere where women could learn and train and then hopefully stay on at the Hampstead Bindery and continue working. Male binders at the Hampstead Bindery were the ones training and upskilling these women in bookbinding. It is a really important thing to note that only women who had had art school training were accepted into the guild, so it was definitely something reserved for the middle classes. He also charged for tuition for a full year, even though they were only trained for 6 months and then expected to work for the bindery for the following 6. The next catalogue of the guild was in 1899, and none of the women were mentioned by name. Karslake was absolutely relentless in his advertising of the guild, putting catalogues out, accepting commissions, encouraging private commissions, but the stock started piling up and eventually they had to do a sale at Sotheby's. A very contentious subject amongst historians is to what extent these bindings were conducted by the women or whether a lot of them were done or assisted by the men working at the Hampstead Bindery, who are, needless to say, more experienced. Eventually, Karslake staff at the Hampstead Bindery started to resign. The women continued on, obviously, though this wasn't particularly viable as the men who were training them had left, and by 1904, Karslake was declared bankrupt and the guild closed. There was a final sale at Sotheby's, and 88 of the bindings did actually list the names of the women who had made them, but the vast majority went unnamed. Ultimately, Karslake set this up not as a way of educating women, but because he thought he could make more money selling fine bindings done by women than by secondhand books, which is what he was doing at the time. Initially, he was heralded as a hero for opening all these doors for women, educating them, helping train them in the trades, but ultimately he came to be known as someone who exploited cheap labour to try and make money from fine bindings.